you have about 60,000 to 80,000 thoughts per day. You should be introducing consciously at least 1,000 of those thoughts. And you do that through What's going on, everybody? All right, so I got a technique for you in this video. I'm actually going to be, this is a technique that I've recently integrated, and it's actually been extremely powerful for me personally. And it's a form of meditation, but don't worry, you don't have to sit down and try to view and let go of your thoughts for an hour, 2 hours, 5 hours. What you're actually going to be doing is, what I'm going to introduce here is a mantra meditation. So I have not read, I've read that mantra meditations exist, but I have not gone into any depth or decided to read that much about them. I was actually driving the other night, maybe 3 nights ago, and I had a spontaneous insight into a mantra. So it felt like it was given to me. And the way I can tell the difference between thoughts that I consciously create or even subconsciously create and an insight is that the insights come prepackaged. So I might be thinking like, oh, what kind of video ideas do I want to do? And then I got to brainstorm that. But when I have an insight, it comes and the whole thing is complete. And I just have to it's sort of like a download, as people like to say in some new agey spiritual circles. And here's what was in the download. It was this mantra. And I've expanded on it since, but let me give you the original one. It is, isn't it wonderful? I love life. I am God. I choose now. Isn't it wonderful? I love life. I am God. I choose now. Take this mantra, and I want you to repeat this mantra in your head over and over and over, when you're driving, when you're working, when you're sleeping, when you're on the toilet. Anytime you're not engaged talking to somebody else, you should be talking to your mind. This is how you start to introduce thoughts into the subconscious mind. The trick with the mantra is that you need to feel it. And at first you might not feel it. If you're brand new, see, from my perspective, the mantra is extremely powerful because I've already had various awakening experiences. I've had many insights on this path in non-duality and so forth. And so I know the power that it's having on me, because now I can easily tell when my consciousness is a little bit higher or if it's a little bit lower, right? There's states of consciousness. It's an infinite spectrum. So it's easier for me to tell from my position. If you've never had an awakening yet, it might not seem like it's going to be that effective to you. But that's just like with everything. When you first start meditation, you may have been meditating for a year by now, and you perhaps haven't had an awakening yet, or any kind of insight, or even like some of the preliminary truths, like the truth of no self. And so for you, you're going to need to start off and just do it anyway, and start using the mantra every day throughout the day. And then by like day 7, you'll start to see a shift in like how you feel. That'll be the first thing you notice. So once you start to see the shift in how you start to feel, you'll start to feel like a little bit more positive emotions than you normally would. Some things that used to piss you off will piss you off less. And the feeling is key. So the point of the mantra is to get you to start to feel the truth of the statement. Because if you're on the path, you already know, because all the teachers have told you, the Leo gurus, the Rupert Spirits, everybody's already told you that you're God already, okay? The barrier, the imaginary barrier that's between you and God is basically just you not wanting to accept that you are. This will start to slowly introduce that to you. God is unlimited amazement and unlimited horror in some context. And so mantras are a great way to sort of counter the thoughts in your mind. You have about 60,000 to 80,000 thoughts per day. You should be introducing consciously at least 1,000 of those thoughts. And you do that through mantras. And you can edit this mantra and you can add to this mantra. I've added to the mantra since like I said, I started doing it 3 days ago when it came compact, and I've been adding my own additions to it in order to help keep me grounded. Yesterday, I had one of the most epic days ever with just manual practice of me doing this mantra. I had been driving around that morning. I woke up and instantly went out and started driving. That's one of the ways I like to be mindful and meditate. When I finished, I went to the public library in order to read a book, and just my entire drive from where I was at towards home to grab my bag and use the restroom and then to the library, that entire time in between and the rest of the day, I had like way more epic levels of consciousness. My positive thoughts, my feelings of love increased. And I don't want to call it like clairvoyance, but if you've ever done like magic mushrooms, or you've meditated for a long time, like in like a retreat setting, and everything starts to look in place, like it's perfect, like nothing's out of place, nothing's a mistake. That sort of feeling and that sort of visual awareness you get with objects in your awareness and sounds in your awareness, I was in that like tenfold. Like it felt like I had went up several notches of consciousness. So don't look at consciousness and awareness as this like you're not enlightened and then you're God. No, there's a whole bunch of stuff in between. And so the thing that's going to keep you interested in the path, in my opinion, the thing, right? Because as an ego, as we pretend that we're not God, we want things, right? That's how the human being works. We want stuff. We want, magical powers, so to speak. We want rewards from being on the enlightenment path. The rewards are the intermediate states of consciousness in between baseline, normal, everyday consciousness and infinite consciousness, right? And it's infinite. So there's infinite stages in between. So don't discount the stuff in the middle. There is stuff in the middle. So don't give up on your meditation. Continue to be frustrated. Continue to be bored. Continue to be angry. Continue to hate life. Continue to not even want to keep living it sometimes. But go ahead and keep living it anyway, because all the frustration and the anger and stuff, I find that those emotions actually propel me. They're a better catalyst for insane increases and spikes in consciousness later in the day or the next day a lot of times for me. So, and the way you're going to do this is to find the practices that work best for you. Meditation, sitting down and meditating is not going to work for everybody, but it might, so you should try it. Kriya yoga is not going to work for everybody, but it might, so you should try it. Psychedelics probably will work. Highly unlikely that they won't work. And there's so many of them. It's highly likely that one of them will work. I am not telling you to do psychedelics, by the way. They are illegal in most parts of the world, but there are ways to legally do so. If you are of age, in places where they are legally able to do so, consult your doctor and your therapist and all these things. If you have health concerns, or if you're mentally unstable and you're dealing with depression and things like that, then those might not be right for you. I am not a doctor and I am not your therapist. Everything here is for educational purposes only. However, enlightenment work is serious work, and sometimes it requires serious effort. And then at the end, obviously, you find out that your efforts were sort of like a video game or a cartoon. But with that being said, isn't it wonderful? I love life. I am God. I choose now. That's the mantra. I may make a video in the future to reveal what I've expanded on. But like I said, the pieces that I've added to it, they're different than the ones that came prepackaged to me as an insight. So I'm still trying those out, seeing if those resonate. I don't want to be programming fantasies into my head, but the core ones that I was presented in the insight, I'm using those. I continue to use those every day. I use them on the drive here. I use them even while making this recording. So with that being said, try that out and, like, subscribe, do all that. I'm going to be trying to give a lot of practical advice on spirituality. My channel is not going to be simply about spirituality. I'm actually going to do a little bit of fishing. That's why I'm at the lake here. So I might record some of that. And this is part of that. I love life, because you also need to embody the mantra. So, you know, the I love life portion of it, for example, then the way, because it's, I learned this in Home with God by Neil Donald Walsh. And God in the book mentions that it's through thought, word, and deed that manifestation occurs and things like that. So what you want to do is, the mantra is the thought that you introduced, I love life. And then every now and then say it out loud. Like once an hour, say the whole mantra out loud and then go back to doing it in your mind, if you really want to help it sink into the subconscious. And then the action, the deed, is actually loving life. Go and do something that you like to do. And even if it sucks that day, still love the action itself. Still love a day when it didn't suck. Because the feeling is the key. That's going to get the mind involved. That's going to get the body involved. And once those two align, the soul, so to speak, starts to get involved in the process. Isn't it wonderful? I love life. I am God. I choose now. I'll see you guys in the next one.